Hey guys, happy
Hi.
Thursday. Today's Thursday, November 21st, 2019. We're up here at the beautiful Citrus Club on a gorgeous Orlando day.
Gorgeous.
I'm super excited to have Rich Fontaine here.
Hello.
Mr. Rich Fontaine with a great history, a great name. I said it earlier on a little promo we did. It sounds like a Hollywood name. Thank you to Rob Henlin for the introduction and for the patience and all the good stuff we had to do in order to get Rich here. So let us know you can hear us and see us. Just give us a thumbs up or heart as you guys start to tune in. But Rich is also making his own little recording over there, which I'm always amazed at what people can do. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
So tell me a little bit about you. They always love origin story. They want to know kind of where you're from. And, you know, not everybody was born and then decided to be an author or an entrepreneur.
Right.
So give us a little background on you.
Oh, a little background of me. Obviously, again, my name is Rich Fontaine. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, with two parents that had very minimal means. I used to have a joke that they grew up poor, so they named me Rich.
I like that joke.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And we were struggling financially as we grew up in New York City and Waterbury, Connecticut, where I grew up as the dirty kid. I was picked on, had fights.
The dirty kid. What does that mean?
Oh, the dirty kid. The dirty kid is there's always that one kid in class, maybe about elementary or middle school, that didn't smell the best, didn't have the nicest clothes, was kind of just, you could tell that he was poor, or in the sense that didn't have much.
So they were, good morning, Tyler, by the way. They were picking on you because you didn't have the clothes that were popular,
Yes.
or you didn't smell the way they smelled. Kids are rough on each other.
Yeah, they're pretty rough.
They're so rough.
Well, at the time, it was like early 90s, so all the kids were wearing Tommy Hilfiger, Nike, Jordan brand, and everyone was wearing all the name brands, and I was wearing Kmart and Everlast sneakers. So
That's too bad.
It is what it is. I've gotten past it. I mean, of course, during the time, it was stressful. I actually call my middle school Game of Thrones, because you never knew what was going to happen that day.
That's a great description of middle school.
It really was, because it was rough. You just didn't know who you can trust. I had friends that said, hey, yeah, come in here. And then they were ready to jump me, where I thought they were friends at the time. So it was really a rough period. And during that time, I kind of used my own imagination and reverted inside myself so I can kind of get away from my own reality using my own imagination. And that stirred me to actually write the book, The Nerd Who Saved the Universe.
So I love that you were able to have those, because what kids do, no matter what the situation is, in Rich's particular situation, you go into this, you figure out your survival mode.
Yes.
You figure out how you're gonna, you know that they're not gonna change, so you have to figure out how to work through it, circumvent it, do the best you can, and 100%. You come up with these survival skills, this way of living a life, dealing with people, learning how to deal with people
Right.
at an early age. I think you probably also could read people at an early age. Because you had to learn that, because like
Right.
you said, you couldn't trust, you thought somebody was your friend and they weren't.
Correct.
That's a great skill. You learned the discernment.
I learned discernment very early, because New York, if you ever met a New Yorker, we're very quick talkers, very fast.
A bunch of great New Yorkers, yes.
And they're amazing, but a lot of them are very fast talkers, can actually use their sales skills to make you believe one thing when they're actually thinking or doing another. And that discernment helped me survive later in life. So everything happens for a reason, but at the time, it did change me, I'll be honest.
Sure.
In not feeling secure in my own self, I started following the other trends of the kids.
Right.
And I got myself into a lot of troubles that way. Fist fights, selling drugs. Well, I still tried to sell drugs one time. My mother found it. She threw it down the toilet. So that ended my drug career very quickly.
Your career was over.
My career was over very quickly.
Thank God your career was over.
Thank God very quickly. Thank God for my mother and my father for guiding me out of those certain situations. But during that time, I wanted to hang out with kids that I could relate to.
Right.
And so a lot of the misfits, we started hanging out together because we didn't feel that we were belong in society. And so in that sense, we started being having more mayhem,
right,
and creating more negativity in society.
Because you're really, and good morning, hey Lisette.
Hi, Lisette.
You're really, you have all these feelings, right? You're not thinking about it at the time,
right,
but you're trying to figure out a way to do it. And so being rebellious,
yes,
going against the grain,
yes,
doing things, that gives you a temporary, but certainly an outlet for that negativity. You're like, all right, well, I'm going to give you the middle finger society.
Right.
And so I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Exactly.
Because nobody else is accepting me for who I am.
100%.
So I'm sure you felt that way in that group. Like you said, I love it, Land of Misfit Toys. We talk about that. Sometimes I call my table at the Citrus Club the Land of Misfit Toys because it's such a cool, eclectic group of people who get together. But as kids, it's not so cool. It's not so fun. You get in that group and there's still these challenges that you're going through.
Oh, 100%. There's still always challenges, and you're just doing things that are against your own grain, which I stopped writing for a very long time. But the very first book I've ever written was I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I was 8 years old. I wrote a short story because I was obsessed with Goosebumps books at the time because it was helping me escape.
God, you are young.
Yeah. Goosebumps at the time was huge, and I read all the books, and it helped me escape from my reality. And that's why I always push books so much for kids, because there's so much knowledge and wealth inside books that if you actually read them, you discover many things about yourself or many things about life, things that they don't teach you in school. And that's what helped lead me to different mentors, to changing my life completely from negative to positive.
So was it always? So once you got past that,
Yes.
Did you get past it? Were you always known, like even in high school, were you in that land of misfits?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
you get out of high school and you become an adult. Then
Yes.
what happens?
I decided to go to college because that was something that was always a dream of mine. I didn't want to be a statistic. I had a teacher tell me when I was 12 years old. She said that, Richard, you're going to end up either in jail or homeless, or you're just going to be a statistic. And at 12 years old, I mean, for a teacher that's supposed to be helping higher learning and instilling things, and instilling things into kids at 12 years old, to tell a kid at 7th grade that he'll never amount to anything, maybe actually more determined. So that's my personality. When somebody says they can't do anything, or they don't show up, or they don't be with me in my mission or my journey, I tend to work even harder.
I love that you were able to push past that, because a lot of times, kids listen to what adults say, and it becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if you tell me I'm awful enough times, guess what happens, guys? The kids become awful because they can't think past that negativity. But how awesome that you had that strength, that gift to get past that nasty teacher who I don't like at all.
I actually want to send her a book one day. I should find her and send her a book.
Not in jail, sweetie.
Not at all. I mean, I had some rough patches where it almost became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. But through several different mentors that helped guide me out of my own, definitely meeting mentors that helped me get out of my self-destructiveness and helped me realize what I was only doing to myself. I was getting revenge I felt on the world, but I really was just doing it to myself. I was proving them right. And once the mentor kind of instilled that vision in me and said, Rich, there's so many things you can do. You're pure potentiality. You have nothing but potential, especially at your age. You're so young. You can do whatever you want to do. There's nothing stopping you except you. And once that kind of delved into my subconscious mind and I realized that it was fact, not fiction, that's when I started acting on it. I started getting more bold. And I actually got kicked out of college twice. And
really?
Why? Academics.
Academics.
But I was partying. I was rebellious. I was having too much fun. Instead of sitting home studying, and again, that was another self-esteem, I always had to be around people.
Right.
I know it was very hard to be by myself. Hi, Ellen.
What's up, Ellen? Good morning.
It was very hard to be by myself. I always had to be around people. I called people every night. Hey, what are you doing? Let's hang out. Let's do something. And it wasn't until I realized, hey, all this hanging out, all this hanging around people, you're not doing anything.
Right.
You're not being successful. You're not accomplishing anything. And once my mentor, I really started reading more books. He said, read books. Keep reading books. I started reading Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, Robert Greene's Mastery, 48 Laws of Power, Jack Canfield, The Success Principles. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And I just started getting so deep into these books, and they changed my consciousness.
Yeah, I love it.
And from there, I just started acting on the words that I was hearing daily. I listened to Les Brown every single day. For a year and a half straight, you can ask my wife, every single morning, before I opened my eyes, there was a Les Brown speech. I'd hit play on my phone.
I love it.
And before I even opened my eyes, I would listen to it for a good 10 minutes before I even get out of bed. And for a year and a half, it got into my subconscious. Then I started getting more bold. I started making bold moves, started calling bolder people.
What did you make? Like, what's a bold move? Because I think a lot of people get stuck. They're afraid. They don't want to make a
Sure.
leap. And taking a chance, taking the risk, making the leap is bold.
Absolutely.
It's outside your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
It's something different. It's something new. So give us an example of what bold move you made or what bold moves.
Alan said, preach it. I hear you.
Love Alan.
Hi, John.
Hey, happy Thursday, John.
A bold move was starting my own company. I started my company actually in 2016 after I was lucky and blessed enough to meet a publisher who published my first book. But after he published my first book, I ended up doing more work than I thought was needed. I ended up going down East Colonial. I don't know if you're from here, Orlando. The whole East Colonial, maybe down from the top of Alafaya to Fashion Square Mall, I was putting up my own posters and going to stores, pushing my cards because I believed in it.
Right.
And nobody else believed in it, but I believed so much in myself and in my dream, I was willing to do all the work myself.
Right.
Until I realized if I'm going to do all the work myself, I might as well have the benefits of it. And that's when I get my own LLC, my own tax ID, and started Power of Self Entertainment, a publishing company where I started publishing.
Power of Self Entertainment.
Yes.
So talk about that because a lot of people have a dream. A lot of people have that desire, that want to do something. They have a fire, which you obviously had. But then there's this whole business side that you have to kind of figure out. You mentioned LLC, you had to form a corporation.
Yes.
What did you have somebody that helped you along the way with that?
No.
So you're learning, because I can tell you're a learning junkie, right? You
I
love
am.
information is powerful for you.
Yes.
And it's important to you.
100%.
My wife's like that, which is why I'm not very detailed. It's an unfortunate situation.
I'm the detailed one.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Hey, how was your day? Good. Yours? Well, yeah. And then I hear the whole day, which I love you, honey, but that's how it is.
That's how it is.
John Kalish says Converse Chuck Taylors. We must have heard the tennis shoe.
Oh, the tennis shoes. But Converse Chuck Taylor is actually really nice. When you have Everlast,
I don't even know what Everlast is.
Google Everlast sneakers, and you'll see why I was being made fun of. They're very plain.
All right, so you go through it yourself.
Yes.
And you're of that age group where you had more information at your fingertips.
Correct.
That you could either
YouTube, Google.
YouTube's amazing. If you guys have not, if you YouTube something and you want to know how to do it, there's 900 videos on how to, I don't know, tie your shoe.
It really is.
But it's so important because that gives you this information that you wouldn't have had before that.
Correct. And I mean, I think we live in a golden age. I even wrote that in my first book, Destiny on Purpose, that so many people complain but don't realize what of a golden age that we live in.
We do.
My father and his father before him didn't have this wealth of knowledge and information that we can find on our fingertips. And if you really want to be successful, you can find the information. That's what I realized, that success is not technical knowledge.
No.
It's self-knowledge, knowing who you are and your abilities and what you can do, because the knowledge is there. So I've met people say, man, I can't lose weight. But if you Google how to lose weight, you'll find 999 articles about it. But it's that motivation in you that says, I know exactly where I want to go, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get there. And that's just the self-esteem within you that nobody could give you. It's something you have to pull out of you.
So talk about, I love the title of the first book,
Yes.
Destiny on Purpose, which
Yes.
is awesome. So talk about how did that come about? And then we'll get to the nerd who saved the
Sure.
universe,
We'll say the
right?
best for last, right? The Destiny on Purpose is just in the title. That I believe that you can create your own destiny through your purpose. And how the book came out was very funny. I started reading all these books. I read the top 50 books of entrepreneurship, success, wealth building, spirituality. And I became obsessed with these books. And I started applying the knowledge that was in the books, and I saw a big major shift in my life. As you can see from the story that I started with, I ended up graduating with a bachelor's in civil engineering. I live in Baldwin Park. I drive a Lexus IS 250. I'm married to a gorgeous woman. If you ever see her pictures, I mean, I don't even know how I did that. And all these, and I spoke on stage and opened for Les Brown. All these things happen because of that belief of myself and the principles that I learned in these books. So I want to share these same principles. So I call it the 20 Laws of Success. And I wrote down 20 things that each book was saying. Like, I'm talking about authors that never met each other. I mean, different eras, different generations, never met each other, never read each other's books, but they're saying the same thing.
Right.
So I said, there must be some truth into it. And so I took these truths, I applied it in my own life. Before I shared it to anyone, I said, let me test out these theories.
Right, that's good.
Make sure they're sound. And once I saw the shift in my life, I said, oh, no, these are sound.
But a lot of people don't know how to apply, right? So
Yes,
I know
that's
people
important.
who I call self-help junkies.
Yes.
In a way where they think, I'm going to read all these books. I'm not going to do anything the books say. I'm going to read them all, and hopefully by osmosis, I'm going to change.
What happened?
I mean, it certainly changes your thinking, but if you don't act on it and practice it, and
Right.
I mean practice it, I'm talking
Practice
about
it.
making it a habit, making it a
Yes.
daily thing, integrating it into everything that you do.
Fiber of your being.
You won't change, but I have people that go to every single XYZ speaker.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they all walk on fire, or they do all this, and then they come back and they don't understand why their lives are not changed.
Life is unchanged.
And so the implementation of it, like you're talking about, you living it before you preached it,
Yes.
is so important too. Because I
Yes.
think people just get stuck. Okay, I read that. That sounds like a great idea. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next book. Hopefully that one's going to get me, because this one
No.
didn't do anything right now. It's you that isn't doing anything,
Yes.
is what I want to tell you.
And I'll be honest, I've probably read all those 50 books, I would say a minimum of 3 times. So I didn't just read it once, I reread it and then reread it. Why? Because every time I read it, I see something different.
Yeah.
And somebody said that happens because your consciousness has changed. So now you're reading the same thing as a different person.
Right.
So you're not the same person you was the first
That's a
time
great
you read
point.
it. So the second time you read it, you're a whole different person. Now you're seeing it even on a broader
Because
scale.
you've evolved, for lack of
Yes.
a better word. So you're picking up on things that you wouldn't have because your point of reference wasn't where it is now.
Correct.
So you've got this. It's like when you're learning multiplication tables. You know the basics.
Yes.
Then you learn, you build on it. Then you get to
Build
3
on it.
digits at a time, which I
Yes.
still have a hard time with. Thank God
Same.
for calculators.
God
But
for
you
calculators.
learn that, and so you're right. I love that point. You're looking at it from a different person. Same book. Same exact material, but
Yeah.
because your point of reference is different,
Different. You see
you
more.
see it differently. All right, so let's get to The Nerd Who
Yes.
Saved the Universe, which is probably one of my favorite titles of any book on the planet. I love this. All right, so what's the impetus? How did this all come about?
So after I wrote Destiny on Purpose and I was presenting these laws and I saw these big shifts, I was talking to my wife. I said, I want to write something for kids because I know when I was in middle school, I was aimless and I would not have gone through all the trials and tribulations if I knew the knowledge early. And I decided, I said, I want to write something for middle school kids because that was my toughest year.
It usually is.
Yeah, it's the most awkward. I have a stepson now, and he's in middle school, and you can tell he's just going through it.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
hard.
And so I told her, hey, I want to write a book, Destiny on Purpose, for kids. And she said, I don't know if that's going to work. I said, why not? Because kids like stories.
Right, they do.
And I said, okay, how do I write a story that relates to them but has the same keys
Right.
of life-changing material inside of it? And the title just kind of came to me, The Nerd Who Saved
Well,
the
the
Universe.
word nerd, one of the reasons why I love that
Yes.
is the nerd immediately to me signifies underdog.
Yes.
And all of us, almost all of us, want the underdog to win. You
Yes.
want the underdog to come out on top. You want the underdog to beat the system or beat the bullies, or
Yes.
you want them to succeed so bad. So immediately when I saw the title, I'm like, this is so cool. I love that because
Thank you.
right away I'm like, I don't know who the nerd is. We're all nerds in some way, shape,
some
or
way,
form.
absolutely.
But I want them to win. I'm
Yes.
so glad they saved the universe. I knew they would.
Yes, and of course the title kind of gives it away, but it was meant to. Because
Morning, Angelia.
Hey, Angelia. Hey, thank you for the comment, John. The reason why I love the title so much because it gives it away. I want people to inquire or be curious of how.
Yeah, how does he do it?
How
does the
he
nerd do it?
How does the nerd do it? How does this little guy beat this big monster? And that's the real major key is the how, and that's the most important part of the book is what he uses. He uses imagination and what I call the 3 rules of greatness, which I'll tell you right now. The 3 rules of
Yeah,
greatness.
please do. Tell me.
Yes, the 3 rules of greatness is number 1, you have to have courage. In life and anything you do, it could be talking to that pretty girl in class. You have to have courage. You have to believe enough in yourself to do it. And which leads me to number 2, which is believe in yourself. You have to have that conviction enough to know, not think, but know you can do it. And that takes time, that takes repetition, that takes self-talk. But after a while, you keep doing it, hearing and hearing. My mentor Les Brown says faith comes by hearing and hearing. As you hear it and hear it and hear it, you start to believe it. And that's when he starts to believe in himself, that's when things really start taking emotion. And number 3 is love the process. I say love the process because that was my hardest part to learn.
That is, I think, the hardest for everyone, don't you?
I believe so. It was the hardest for me because once I reached a certain level, I thought, okay, I'm good. You know, I've learned this stuff. I'm applying it. Life's supposed to be cakewalk. But no, you're always going to get hit. Something's always going to happen to throw you off your game. And you have to learn to love it, to learn that this is part of the everyday process. So,
well, you're reframing it, right? So you can
exactly.
look at it as, oh my God, the world hates me, the universe hates me, so I'm getting knocked down yet again. Or you can go, you know what? I'm going to learn from this. There's got to be a reason why it happened.
Yes.
I'm going to grow, and then I'm going to move forward. And like you were talking about earlier, it changes your thought process. So from when you got knocked down and punched down, the next time you read something, the next time you're dealing with a situation, you're in a different spot than you were the previous time.
Different spot.
I love the process because I think that's got to be the hardest part.
It has to be.
They literally get sidetracked by hating the process.
Right.
They get sidetracked by focusing on the negative of the process.
Yes.
Or they're framing it as negative.
So
I love that.
Which I realized in my own life. Hey, Timothy. Oh, Timothy.
What's
I
up,
met
Tim?
I met him at 1 Million Cups.
He's
really good guy.
awesome.
And what I realized in the process, it's just another life showing you another way to up your challenge.
Right.
Up yourself. Right. Each challenge is another way to learn something and take another step up.
Right.
And so when you hate the process, you usually stop, quit, or take a step down.
Correct.
When you turn to love the process, you say, okay, well, this happened. This must be elevating me up to something.
Well, it doesn't have to knock you back 50 steps. If it stops you, takes your breath away, let's say it knocks you back a couple, but you don't have to allow it to knock you so far back that it's hard to come back.
100%.
To fulfill your destiny, stay true to your heart, absolutely.
Yes.
Got to stay true to your purpose, too.
Purpose.
How do you find your purpose? Before I start to wrap up, tell me what's your thought process?
That's a great question. Your purpose and how, actually I was talking to some kids yesterday in middle school at Carver Middle School. Shout out to the kids at Carver. They were really receptive. And they asked me that same question. How do you find your purpose? And the best way I could state that is a Steve Harvey quote, if anyone knows the comedian Steve Harvey.
Absolutely.
He said, your purpose is the thing that comes to you easily, the thing that you can do with the less amount of effort, and the thing that you would love to do for free that you'll do anyway. I write for free. I write anyway because I love it. I speak. I went to the middle school for free because I love it. Whatever you can do that you're good at, obviously. You don't want to be terrible at it. Of course, work on your craft. But whatever you're good at, that you could do with the least amount of effort. Writing books for me, some people ask me, like, how do you write books so fast? Like, I wrote a novel in a year. People's like, man, I wrote novels take people 3, 4, 5 years. How did you write it so fast? It just comes easy to me.
I love it.
It just comes easy to me. And I knew that was my purpose because when I went to school for engineering, I graduated. I was a project engineer for many years.
That does not seem like you.
Many people say that. They're like,
not
really,
even
you?
Close.
It really wasn't because it's such a box-in type of industry where you're basically gotta be quiet, just go to work, shut up, don't say anything to anyone, leave, and don't ruffle any feathers. But I ruffle feathers because I'm opinionated and I like the energy and the purpose and the passion that I have, and that's what I knew that I get energized. Like this interview, I'm energized.
Absolutely.
When I used to go to work, I was like,
Well, no, because you're not fulfilling your purpose. You're not living your purpose.
100%.
People go just because they're afraid to take the leap. They're afraid to take the risk. And then they don't have the resources so that they don't know how to get out of that same doldrums of a job that they're not happy about.
Yes.
So I just want to thank you for being on. First of all, your energy is palpable. You guys obviously can feel it. Thank you, Lisette. I love what you are talking about because there are so many people who could utilize that. And I don't care if you're a kid or not, I will bet that adults could read The Nerd Who Saved the Universe and they would get it. Sometimes you gotta start here. Yeah. Gotta start here. So if you haven't started anything at all, start, right? I mean, come on.
It's for you.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry, last one. I had a mother, just one quick, that read the book before she gave it to her son. She read it in 3 days. She said she absolutely loved it, and she related to it as well as her son did. So,
because there's always a kid, right? Think about it. We're all that kid we still have that person in us. We still have that kid that either got picked on, wasn't picked for kickball, or wasn't part of the in group, didn't sit at the cool kids club. We all have those insecurities that we've carried with. I don't care how old you are, you remember what happened as a kid and how you were treated. And so that's why I believe The Nerd Who Saved the Universe is a universal kind of book. The message is universal, and it will hit you in a place you might not understand. It's going to hit you because you think it's a kid's book. I'm telling you, we all have that kid. You should definitely read it, and definitely read Destiny on Purpose. All right, we're going to share all of Rich's contact information, how you can reach out to him, how you can get his books, how you can learn more about his business, Power of Self-Entertainment.
Yes, Power of Self-Entertainment.
And so you alluded to some mentors. We're big about mentors on the TED Show and TED's community. Can you give a public shout out to some mentors or a mentor that helped you along the way?
Oh, I have so many. I want to give a big shout out to, of course, my major mentor, Mr. Les Brown. His daughter, actually, I have an event on December 8th. Please check this out. We're actually having a book launch for this event. Nice. It's going to be for middle school kids. We're going to have bouncy houses, video game trucks. Nice. It's going to be a full festival. We have a Santa, a Christmas tree, and we're going to be giving giveaways. It's on December 8th. Please go to earnestthenerd.com, earnestthenerd.com, to find the information about the event. It's going to be here in Orlando, Florida. And his daughter, Serena Brown, actually donated to the event. So shout out to...
So cool.
Yeah, they're awesome. Shout out to the Brown family. That's number one. Les is amazing. If you've never heard Les Brown, please YouTube him. He will change your life. I have so many mentors: Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Norman Vincent Peale, Robert Greene, Jack Canfield. The list goes on and on. But I want to give a shout out to my father, because there's not a lot of fathers out there. The reason why I'm here and I'm blessed is because my father stuck around, even when his father did not. My father was always there for me. When I was in trouble, he was mad at me. He was always there. And that's so big for me. So shout out to my father. My mother always instilled with me her big heart. And so whatever you do, she's always told me, be a leader. Don't be a follower, Rich, be a leader. And that touched my heart as well. So shout out to my parents, my sister, who's always been supportive, and my wife. Definitely my wife. She's a mentor as well, because if you've ever been in a relationship, your spouse, don't get mad at your spouse. Your spouse is always a reflection of you. I told her that one time. I was like, the only reason I'm upset with you is because you're a reflection of me. That means I'm not doing something right if I'm upset with you.
Shh, you're ruining it for us, Rich.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All right. But again, that's my mentors, and you can find me at richfontaine.com. Also, you could find me at Power of Self on Instagram, Power of Self or Rich Fontaine on YouTube, and I'm on LinkedIn at Rich Fontaine. And just follow Rich Fontaine, any other social media platforms, Rich Fontaine or Power of Self, you'll find me.
And we're going to share all of those. Rich will share them later, and then we'll share them across the platform. You've been a joy to have on. Thank you.
Ted.
We love you guys. I have 2 events coming up. I put them in the earlier post. So if you were at either event, come up and talk to me. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Big shout out to Rob Henlin. Fantastic guest. Give me more like him, Rob. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.
Namaste.
Wow.